How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video on the channel. And wow, it has been a long time since I've said those words. I think it's been 6 months since I've last uploaded, and I honestly don't exactly know where to start off this this video here, but I'm okay. Everything's all good. Just been really busy with school and sports, and especially now applying to university and stuff like that. It's been a lot on my plate, and it's really prevented me from being able to actually be active on this channel. And I've really wanted to make a return for quite some time now, but haven't really had the chance to do so, which really sucks because I miss it. The Canucks seem to be back in the playoff race after a rough start, but Big Bruce has put us back on track, and I'm really excited to see how that Pacific race finishes off with a bunch of close teams like the Kings, the Ducks, the Oilers, the Flames, and the Knights. They're all in it, and some of them, although they might have deserved it, might not make it all the way, so we'll see how that ends up. But that's not going to be the focus for today's video. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about a team that has taken an unexpected turn and not in the right direction. They went from the very top, and I'm talking 4 wins away from Lord Stanley himself, to rock bottom, below the Arizona Coyotes. And by the time that this video is released, they might be maybe 1 or 2 points ahead of them. I don't know, but you guys get the idea. It's the Montreal Canadiens, and in particular, what exactly has led them to be in this position of a rebuild after all the success they had last season. I want to go over all my thoughts and theories in regards to that. And in addition, I want to talk a little bit about where I feel they messed up in last year's free agency, picking up some players that they shouldn't have picked up and dropping some players that they really should have re-signed. And I also wanted to go a little bit over some of the players that they lost due to other external factors such as injuries and illnesses, which has really hurt them long-term this year to be a competitive team. So we're going to be going over all that stuff. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And for question of the day, comment down below. If you were the Montreal Canadiens GM right now, what would be your next move in this rebuild? I know they made a couple moves already, and I will address them in just a moment here. But with that in mind, what would be your next move to kind of steer them in the right direction out of this hole that they have dug themselves so deeply into? But anyways, without further ado, let's get right into the video. So as I mentioned, to start off, I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about the moves that the Montreal Canadiens have already made. And this consists of things such as firing their head coach Deschamps and replacing him with ex-NHL superstar Martin St. Louis. And if I'm being real, I didn't really know how this would play out when I first heard about it, since obviously Martin St. Louis, great player, a lot of fun to watch. But I didn't know how that would really translate into a head coach role. But I mean, from the past couple of games, he's been looking really good. I mean, the Canadiens, they won 5 straight at one point. I think they lost the other night, but regardless, 5 wins is 5 wins. And that's a lot better than they were doing before, so got to give them a lot of credit where it's due there. In addition to that, Tyler Defolia went to the Calgary Flames in return for a 1st-round pick, a 5th-round pick, Tyler Pitlick, and I think there was one more piece involved, but I think it was a pretty small piece there. But yeah, pretty good return if I'm being real here. Tyler Defolia obviously popped off last year. He was the Canadiens' best player, scoring like 28 goals or something crazy like that in a shortened 56-game season. And I mean, I see a lot of Canadiens fans that were upset to see Tyler Defolia go, and I get it. I mean, he was a great player for you last year, great fit with the team, and obviously popped off for sure. But when you're giving up a guy that you didn't actually give up anything for initially in free agency, I see it as an absolute win. It might sting at first, but in the long run, it's definitely going to help you guys out. So yeah, don't be upset about this, because if you're going to enter a rebuild, might as well do it the right way and not hold on to an aging veteran player who's at his peak right now. So that's pretty much it so far in terms of the Montreal Canadiens rebuild. Now let's talk a little bit about why I believe the Montreal Canadiens haven't nearly been able to replicate any of the success that they had last season. I feel like a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans and hockey fans in general are overlooking the fact that the Montreal Canadiens have lost a ton of key pieces from last year. Not just Defolia, but also Price, Danault, and Weber, and I wanted to talk about all 3 of those players because I feel like they all played, immensely significant roles in the cup run last year to get them to where they were, and losing them was honestly such a huge blow for the team. Starting off with Price, their Vezina goaltender, their goaltender of the future back in the day, and he definitely lived up to the hype. This guy, he was their goalie, right? And a goalie can win you games, it can win you series, and he can honestly make up a franchise, and that's exactly what he did throughout his career, and especially reestablishing himself as a true star in the game with countless magnificent performances throughout the playoffs. He really did all that he could to ultimately keep his team in it, round after round, aging back to the Toronto series where it was 3-1 and they thought it was curtains. Price, he stood on his head for 3 games straight to make it a 4-3 victory for his team. And after that, I honestly grew so much respect for Price, and I don't think a lot of people were giving him enough credit. Because fast forward and look at the goaltenders now for the Habs. You have Jake Allen, who's the number 1. You have Sam Montembeault, Andrew Hammond. These guys, no disrespect, but they're not nearly to the same level of skill as Price was. To put it into much simpler context, I feel like Price last season was just simply on another level. It was his last chance. I feel like he's a veteran in the game. He's been on the Canadiens his entire career, and I feel like he just really wanted to prove to everyone that he still had one last shot in him, and he was so close. So that veteran leadership, he was composed, and it's something that the Canadiens in the goaltender department are really lacking this season. Staying on the trend of veterans on the Montreal Canadiens that left last season, let's talk about the captain, Shea Weber. And this guy was another absolutely vital piece on the back end. Just a great stabilizer. I feel like Shea Weber, he made so many clutch blocks that people did not talk about. Sometimes when Price was completely out of position, Shea Weber would be there, sacrificing himself, putting his body on the line to prevent a goal. He scored some big goals too as well. He made some big hits and was ultimately the number 1 voice in that locker room. That is something they do not have this year, and I cannot stress enough how important it is to have a leader that calms the team down when things get out of hand. When they were down and out of it last year, not only Price to save their bacon, but also Shea Weber. He's the guy to bring them in and say, listen guys, it looks like it's done, but we can come back in this one. Now, when they lose 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row, who's going to be there to calm them down? What's their coach going to do? They clearly lost respect in him because he got fired. So they need someone who can kind of stabilize them in the sense that Shea Weber did. But man, it's going to be hard to find that because he was such a good captain for them. So that's another huge loss. And I ultimately think it rivals Price's absence. Moving on to the third and final piece that the Montreal Canadiens lost, it's their centerman, Phillip Danault. This guy was an absolute beauty. He was so reliable on the draw. Back when I was watching the Cup run last year, it looked like he was winning every single draw in his own zone, and that's exactly what they needed him to do. He didn't score a lot of goals, but he sure as hell got a ton of assists. This guy was a great playmaker and just a really smart player in general. He was able to get the puck out of his own zone, and he always just looked to make the safe play. It's something you love to see when you're watching games, to not feel like you're stressed out watching a guy who always wants to do the hard play out of the zone. This guy, he was no nonsense, and it worked out for them. It's something they don't have this year. They thought they had it when they acquired Christian Dvorak in the offseason. I was hearing all this excitement from the fans, like, oh man, Christian Dvorak, this guy's an upgrade. Phillip Danault, see ya, buddy, but you can enjoy your overpriced salary in LA. We have Christian Dvorak. This guy, he was a great player last year for a terrible Arizona Coyotes team. Let's see what he can do on a much better Canadian side. He comes over and the goals aren't going in. He's starting to get frustrated. The fans are getting antsy. They're saying, okay, come on, man, start scoring some goals. And then some more time passes and he's not scoring. Now the fans are really pissed off. They're saying, come on, man, we paid for this guy. He should be Danault's replacement. Why isn't he working? And it's just this downward spiral. That's really hard for the players. And I feel really bad for Dvorak because I feel like he's still a really good player. But this is just a prime example of a player that doesn't fit on this team. They acquired him to be Danault's replacement. It's just not working out, and I feel just terrible for the guy because he's getting a lot of stick. And although he hasn't really lived up to the height that he was supposed to, it's not entirely his fault because I feel like a lot of other players are kind of under the radar of all these fans, and they haven't been holding up their end of the bargain either. Look at the defense side. David Savard, he was acquired in the offseason as well. What has he done? Look at Ben Sherratt. He hasn't been playing that great either. Look at Jeff Petrie. This guy's coming off of a Norris campaign season, and he's been playing absolutely horrible. I could just go down the list, calling out guys like Brendan Gallagher, Cole Caulfield, and Josh Anderson. none of these guys have really been playing up to their potential, and ultimately, it's not enough to make up for the losses of last year. All in all, although this team does have a long road ahead of them with a pretty painful rebuild coming up after not even being able to win the cup last year, I would be optimistic at this blow up because, you don't really know which direction they're going to go. And I think the offseason is something to really look forward to with the draft and all the other moves to be made. So we'll see which direction they go. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how this all plays out. But as for today's video, that's pretty much all I really wanted to get out there. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's great to be back making these videos for you all. I have a ton in store, so I cannot wait to share with you what this channel has next. Consider this kind of like a channel blow up, a channel rebuild. So this is my first video back, and if you guys did enjoy it, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below for the question of the day. As I mentioned earlier, what do you think the next move should be for this rebuild? I want to know what you guys all have to say. I'll be responding to you in the comments section, so make sure you go ahead and do that right after this video. But anyways, thank you guys so much, and I'll be sure to catch you guys all in the next one. Peace out.